Okay.
Okay. We are on 57.
Yep.
Nun Zayin.
Where are the others?
So Bigula Kamer, we said, how much is a square more than a circle? Ravia. A square, if you place a circle within a square, the area of a square will be 1/4 more than the area of the circle. So Dal Ravia partially you left with 6, but she said that's Rabba Ravia. 6 out of 24 is a quarter. Because remember, we were talking about the Levitical cities, which had 1,000 amas of area in front of it. And yet it says it's only a quarter. So this is how they calculated the quarter. Ravina Amar my Ravia the tchun 1/4 of the total tchun. Ravashi Amar my Ravia the kronos. No, it refers to the corners. That because the corners are added in there, not just you take a square and you add a rectangle of 1,000 amas to the square. You have the corners as well. You get that the corners is an extra quarter. Well, the saviv doesn't include the kronos. My saviv the kronos. We're talking about including the corners. You have to say it includes corners because Gabi Ola, when it talks about sacrificing the korban Ola on the 4 corners of the mizbeach, it means, do you have to put it in a circle? It means as long as you place it on the 4 corners, it's as if you did it around the mizbeach. What does it mean? Around saviv the kronos. We're talking about including the corners. Morsha de Karnasa is that little space when you put a circle inside a square, and that little space between the circle and the corner of the square, right? So we're talking about the Masa Igalusa. We're talking about a circular city. For Gemara, what do you mean a circle? Ribua. You keep on talking about a square. So you view it as if there's a square around the circle. Rivua vada mean the rabba, because you and that's how you measure the tchum from there. How much volume? No, how much area is a square more than a circle? Revia 1/4. Hani tamne meya. So then remember we did the hypotenuse, 2,000 by 2,000 amis, and then the hypotenuse is 28. And so you add an extra 800. It's really 667 1/3, not 800. That's if you only start off with a circle, not a square. If you squared it and use a diagonal, you need the full 2,800. You need the 800. This basically is the statement of Pythagoras' theorem: a squared plus b squared equals c squared. If you have if A, B, and C, right? A to B, A is if you have a right angle triangle, yeah, A and B are the 2 sides of the triangle, and C is the hypotenuse. So if A and B are 1, called the hypotenuse is going to be 1.4. It's going to be 40% more, because A squared plus B squared equals C squared, and so if it's got 2,000, it's 2,800. Okay, Mishnah. Noistin Karfei Fleir de Rab Meir. Every city, a Levitical city, gets an area in front of the city, and the Karfei is like an area where they used to keep it open. and it was 5,000 square amas, like this, like the chutzner of the Mishkan. The Chachamim lo armu karfeif ela bein shtei ayaros. No, the din of karfeif is not that every city gets a karfeif. It's just if you have a space of two karfeifs between a city, if it's less than 141 ames, you can treat the city as one big city. Otherwise, you got to treat them as two cities, right? In Yesh it makes the city as one. But if it's more than that, then you got two different cities. You have three cities. If there's between the two outer ones only 141 ames, so also the third, they're all treated like one city. The Gemara will explain what this means. So where do we see that if you have a regular city, when you go to measure, you don't measure directly from the city wall. You measure from the end of the karfei, from the end of the 70 amma by 70 amma piece. Amar Rava, the Amar Kra Mikir Ha'ir V'chutza. You measure the city from the wall of the city v'chutza. Amra Tortein Chutza. Give the city a little bit of area in front of it. V'achar kach medod, then measure. However, the Chacham disagree. It's not that every city gets a karfif. The din of the karfif is the issue about two cities. Itmar Ravuna Amar, Noisen karfif lezu v'karfif lezu. You have two cities. Each one gets 70 and 70 and 2/3. So that together, it's 141 a little bit. No, you don't need 141. Even one karfif of 70 by 70 amma will be enough for the one city, for the two cities. So karfif seems to be like chiyad against Ravuna. Tiyuf to Ravuna. My karfif Torah is karfif. Means the din of karfif, but la'olam karfif luzu, the karfif luzu, each one gets its own. That makes logical sense. Miditani seifa, if it says later on, im yesh lezu shivim amma v'shirayim, lezu shivim amma v'shirayim, if each has their own 70 amma shetach, also karfif l'shteim liyosecha. If it's not more than that, the two cities, rather than be viewed as two cities, they can be viewed as one city. Shema B'no, it's a good proof. So maybe this, in fact, is a kasha on Chiyah Barav. Lematei tefiyuf to the Chiyah Barav. Amach Chiyah Barav. Hamani Rab Meiri, who held that every city gets even one karfif. Rab Meiri, Atari Le'Reisha. Then it's repetitious. The Rab Meir already said, Nois and karfif li'ir de Rab Meir. Or it says, I needed to be taught in both places. If I would have only had that case, maybe one karfif for one city, v'chad l'tarti, and maybe one karfif will suffice for two cities. Kamash malon de l'tarti trei yavirim. Had to be told halacha that for two cities, each one gets its own. Yashmi halacha. If I would have only been told the din of Rav Meir here, mishum d'tchika tashmishtayim, you want to create space in front of the city, and for beauty, so you need to have a large space. But the area between two cities, there's no big reason to have a lot of space. Maybe I wouldn't say that each city gets its own karfif. So tzricha, I had to be told this halach in both places. Tanan, we learn in the Mishnah, v'chein shlosha kforma meshulashim. Three cities like in a triangle. Im yesh bein shnayim achitzonim, mea v'arbayim v'achas amos shlish. So if there's no greater than 141 amas between two of the cities, osem tzoy shloshim liyosechad. So they can be viewed as, you can measure tchum from all three of the cities as one city. But that only works time at Dikem Tzoy because there's a middle city. Haleka and soy maybe low. Again, it's used to Ravuna. Not talking about you have to have 3 real cities. Elaroy, we sort of estimate. If you can drop a 3rd city between them, and somehow you can create it so there's 141 amas, no more than that between the cities. Also, then the 3rd city will sort of create one. How much distance can you have from one of these outer cities to the middle one? 2,000 amas. We had a sheet when we talked about a city that was shaped like a rainbow, that there the distance could be even more than 2,000 amas. There's no comparison. That rainbow city was filled with houses. Here there are no houses in between the cities. How much distance can there be between the 2 cities on the outside? So why do we need to know how big the cities have to be? We said as long as you can drop a 3rd city in there and you keep it within 141, then who cares how big it is? That's correct. I thought if we had that city that was made like a rainbow, if the 2 limbs of the rainbow, it only works if they're within 4,000 amas of each other. So you see, it's not unlimited above 4,000 amas. There, the houses are filling up the rainbow. The people in the city of Akistafon, the Mashkin Tchum Ha'igisa, that are Shir. These 2 cities, I guess, bridged a river. And there was another city called Ardshir nearby. And they overlapped Tchum, Ha'ikad Diglis, and the Euphrates, the Mesavke Yosem, and yet it divides these 2 cities more than 141. Why doesn't it ruin it? Like we said, if there's more than 140, we shouldn't treat these as one city. So, there were fragments of both of these cities, like ruins, that ended up in this river. And if you measured from those ruins, it was still within 70 amas of each other. So it fulfilled the criteria that we said that we need to have in order for the cities to be treated as one. Says the Mishnah in Moedid al Bechebel shel 50 Amma, when you measure these distances, you have to use a rope of 50 amma, lo pachos v'lo yoser. V'lo yimdar el keneged libo. You go from heart to heart. What about if there's a valley? Hayamodid v'gil agayo l'goder, mavlio v'chozer l'midoso. You don't have to include in the 2,000 amas. Let's say you're in the Grand Canyon. You have to measure the canyon. You go straight across like the crow fly, as if it was a straight area. Also, if you go to a mountain, you don't have to count that 450 amas to climb the mountain. You go as the crow fly, which is only, let's say, 50 amas. You got to be careful if these valleys shouldn't be beyond the tchum, because then when they measure from the sea, it's going to be complicated. Let's say you cannot make this estimation You use this process of like making a tunnel through the mountain, and that's how you measure. The Gemara will explain a little bit more in detail. Okay, tomorrow we will learn 8 o'clock.